Good morning, everybody. Now, today's episode is all about the execution part of our summit. Okay, it's really cool because it does sort of remind me back in the days. Honestly, back in the day, I mean like before coronavirus, um, of our site in Oxford, our laser tag and our sort of hard rope site. So some of those things do flash back with the actual execution part. So when it comes to our summit today, I'm going to share them, and it's all similar. So I'll see you on the episode.
So the big question is this: if you were starting your first online business with no audience, no customers, no group, no following, completely from scratch, how would you actually do that? What steps would you need to take? I want to share with you my young entrepreneur journey as I get to launch my first ever online business for the first time. So that's the question. This podcast is the answer. My name is Kane Pointing and welcome to the Young Entrepreneurs Secrets Podcast. Let's have some fun.
Good morning. I hope you're all having a fantastic Friday morning. Okay, yes, it's Friday. Now, today's episode, like I just said, it's all about the execution part. And I'm sort of running through the sort of three main takeaways I took today. But also, when I'm sort of looking at the takeaways I'm taking, they sort of do relate to the part where I was managing our site in Oxford, which is our adventure park. So some of the things I'm talking about today, it's like, oh, I used to do that, like, oh yeah, that I've done that already. So it sort of ties back in. So when I sort of go through these, I will tell you like a couple of stories, not too long, not too long of the story, but just sort of some little stories so you can sort of relate back to them. Because I see it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is literally what used to happen. So today I've been focused on marketing of our business. Okay, and I've actually been working on the hosting of our summit. Okay, now with that sort of topic, today's episode, like I just said, it's deep diving into the actual execution part. Okay, so the execution of our summit, okay, which is going to be awesome. So let's sort of go in for takeaway number one. Now let's jump in straight away. Takeaway number one. So we're sort of looking into this part of what we tell people they get. Okay, now what I sort of mean by what I tell people they're actually going to get is when we start to broadcast our summit. Okay, these are for like the people who have a free ticket, or even have a pay ticket. Is it needs to be it needs to be ready. So if I say to them, look guys, on this page you're going to have all these live videos already, so you can watch them. Is like when they go on at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I said, look, at 10 it's going to be ready. It's going to be ready, so they don't want to feel like we're wasting their time. So it has to be set. It has to be ready for those people. So what we tell them, they actually get. This is actually important because we want our attendees to sort of be able to access these speaker interviews and all that sort of stuff as promised. Because we don't want to say, oh yes, you can go get this, and they can't. And they're like, oh, this is a bit weird. So the main sort of takeaway from like what we tell people they actually get is the attendees who are accessing our summit for free need to be able to get onto these broadcast pages. They actually have to be able to get on there, because obviously if they can't get on there, they can't actually view it. With if they try to access it and it's like it's not ready or it hasn't been uploaded yet, thinking, oh, this guy said to me it was going to be ready at 10 and it's actually not ready at 10. It's like it's not even on there. Unfortunately, that's where the trust will break. Okay, so we have to make sure that the impression they get is that we're organized, we know what we're doing. If we say something, we're going to deliver, or we're going to over deliver. What that means is if you say 10, it's going to be 10 o'clock, or it's actually going to be ready at 9:30. They're like, oh, these people, they're ahead of the game. They get that vibe. And we want to be, we want them to sort of trust us. So even if it's they're coming on for a free ticket, or they're going to exchange their money with us, they're like, look, I want to buy your access pass, but it's like if you don't tell someone there's all the interviews or whatever it is, it's like the trust has been broken, and that's bad because they won't actually trust you. And I can sort of remember that from when we do it on our own site. It was like people they would pay sort of like £300 for a party for 2 hours. They're like, is it actually going to be at 10 o'clock, Kane? And we're like, yes, it's going to be at 10 o'clock. That's what we tell them. And if we come down late 15 minutes, they've paid £300 for a party for 2 hours for 10 kids. And that's we were doing premium laser tag parties. So it's like, if we tell someone we're going to be there at 10 o'clock and we arrive at sort of 10:15, they're like, oh, literally, I'm not trusting you because it's bad. So that's why when we've done our site is we always arrive 15 minutes beforehand. So we can meet and greet, get to know how you all doing. Yes, cool. Do you want to make an early start? Oh, yes, that'd be brilliant. And they feel like you've over-delivered. They trust you. Like, oh, this guy's really nice. Turn on at 10 o'clock, you're like, that's what you expect. You're like, oh, okay. But if you turn at 10:15, it's like, oh, what? You're in my time now. That's how they feel. So it's important, so what we say to people, they actually get. All right, so that's takeaway number one. Takeaway number two is quite important. I've sort of definitely done this before with the scheduling of social media, okay? Now, what I mean by this is, we want our Instagram and our Facebook posts or even Facebook Lives or any sort of YouTube videos, premiered to be scheduled during the summit. Okay, because I can put my hands up. I'm putting both my hands up now. Is I know how long it takes to make a graphic on Facebook, and then you've got to like write the caption and all that sort of thing. You've got to post it, and you're like, oh, that took like 30 minutes, and you've got to do all the others. So it's important to be sort of proactive and get that done before. Like this is important because we're going to have a lot of stuff going on during our summit, and we want to be able to be seen as organized. People not just like being late with stuff. We actually want to be like having our Facebook and Instagram and YouTube posts up to date with the current situation, what's going on. So we're gonna have 3 different days of our summit. So it's like you want day one, if we're like saying, you guys, these are the speakers today. It's like we want to be posting the speakers today. Not the speakers who are from yesterday. They're like, oh, that's not really relevant. So that's why it's important to be, to get our, our social media up to date scheduled. So, key takeaway from this part is, during the summit, we're gonna have a lot of, tasks, like I just said. Okay, loads of tasks. My to-do list is going to be like a book. All right, and creating the Facebook content, the Instagram content, the YouTube content, posts, images, just that sort of stuff. It takes time, it takes effort, and unfortunately, during the summit, that time, and effort can be pre-done. Okay, it has to be done before. The actual summit starts. It can't be done during the summit, it has to be done before. So because during the summit, I want to be focused on my attendees, my speakers. I want to be giving them my full attention. Any issues that might come on from behind the scenes, like any technical difficulties, I want to be able to focus on that, not start producing content. Okay, like I want to be able to go, okay, that's scheduled. Okay, cool. Like like pressing a button. I mean like scheduled already. Okay, where like Facebook does it itself. I want to make sure that everyone's enjoying it, everything's going to the plan, everything's going good. So, I want to be in more of a managerial position than a reactive state. Okay, a bit more proactive, get it all done before, schedule it all. Don't mean reactive, like, oh my God, I've got to publish today. Okay, so it's like making sure we schedule our social media. So just to recap the first 2 takeaways. So takeaway number 1 was what we tell people they actually get. Okay, so delivering what we actually say. That could be something free, it could be something paid, but make sure what we say we actually give them. Okay, that's where we start to build trust. Takeaway number 2 was scheduling our social media, making sure that we're actually, proactive. Okay, we're getting stuff done before so we can focus our time and our main energy on our speakers and our attendees, making sure our summit that we give them is very valuable, beneficial, and it's inspired them and it's helped them. Okay, that's what we want to do, make sure they have a great time. And that we start to build the trust with those people. Now, moving into this one, all right, engaging with people. This is my next, the last, the finale. Okay, key takeaway is engaging with people watching the actual summit, but also the people part of the summit, and that's speakers. Okay. Now, what I mean by this is we want to be able to ask people, how they're finding the actual summit, how they've benefited from coming to our summit, and that could be as an attendee. Okay, so guys, how did you feel? Have you been in any other summits before? They're like, no, I've never watched any other summits. Or it could even be for a speaker. Okay, and it's like, how did you find it? They're like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. So, this is important because we want to know what people are liking, what people are enjoying, what people are loving, what people found a bit like, oh, I'm not too sure about that. Okay, like any problems that might come from. But we also know how they benefit from coming to our summit. We want to know why, and like, why like that's important. So we want to be able to ask people and that sort of stuff. So my key takeaway from this one is, the people who watched our summit, we want to ask them, did you enjoy it? Did you like it? And that sort of stuff. who they thought were really, really cool, a really, really cool speaker, or any sort of golden nuggets that they took from it. And that sort of stuff. But the people who are actually raving, they're like, yes, this awesome, it's so good. Like, I'm going to show so many people. Like, I'm on about these are attendees who are like, yes, we're loving it. What we want to do with those people is, say, okay, how good is our summit? They're like, yes, this is so good. I love it. And then what we want to do is we want to sort of capture some sort of testimonial. And this is what I used to do on my other site. In our Venture Park is, I used to have these kids going, guys, this game from Fortnite is so good. Like, it's got this digital storm and just shrinks. And again, they're like, oh my God. And I was like, okay, mate, what you need to do is just talk to me and I'm going to video you. Say it again. What was the game? Oh, this game is Fortnite. It's in Fortnite. It's called Battle Royale. Basically, like, we was going around the helicopters and tanks and blah, blah, blah. And then there we go. I've just captured a live testimonial. Okay. And then okay, where's the next kid? And it's like, you say to them, blah, blah. If you tell me how cool this game was, I give you a respawn. And some of you who are listening to this, like, what is a respawn? It's basically where you can come back in the game again. So it's like, okay, tell me how good again. And they tell you, like, next kid, okay, next kid. And you just banked up 10 like testimonials. So these people who are raving fans on our summit who are like, guys, this is so good. How are we going to sort of, what sort of technique we use to get testimonial? And that will come later on. And then what we want to do is when we get testimonial is, we're going to use that for next year's summit of like why attendees should attend it based on last year's. And that could even be the same sort of testimonial thing could be for speakers. So it's like, the speakers who promoted last year, this is what they're saying, from last year, and this is why you should attend this year. And they're like, oh, okay, I want to listen to this. What's this? And they're like, oh, it's the social proof of someone's actually done it and I've gone through it. So that's why, it's important to, engage with the people watching, engage with the people promoting. And getting that testimonial, okay? Because I remember back in the day, I was like, oh yes, I'm going to get that testimonial, and that will work, okay? And people are like, oh, I trust him more. So that's all about the trust. So it's all about, about making sure that, it's easier for next time. Because if a speaker does say to you, oh, I found this difficult, and you're like, okay, because next year, oh, that might be why blah 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 didn't promote or as much, or that might, that's probably why they didn't promote as much. And it's like next year when you do your summit again, you're like, okay, I've got some feedback. Last year they were struggling with this. How can I make it easier? And you're like, okay, I'm gonna make it easier this way. And then you're like, does the results work? And then you'll find out. So it's all about taking that approach, that sort of, okay, how can I make it better? Who did you like? Who can we bring next year? Who get the same vibe and that sort of stuff? And what can we do differently to make it better? Or what can we keep the same to keep the same sort of momentum and excitement? So just to recap my 3 takeaways for today. So hashtag takeaway number 1 is what we tell people they actually get. Okay, delivering our promise. Okay, what they ask for, we're actually going to give them. Okay, so that trust is built. Hashtag number 2 is scheduling our social media, making sure that we can focus our time on our attendees, our speakers, and not on tasks that can be done before. Okay, so making sure we take a proactive approach, not a reactive state where we're like, I've got to do this today. Take a proactive, I've done that. Now I can focus on the people that I need to focus on. Hashtag number 3 is engaging with people, attending our summit, and also promoting our summit. Okay, asking them how they enjoyed it, what could be done better, grabbing those testimonials where you can for speakers and attendees. Okay, so that was a cool episode today. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode. Like I say, once again, feel free to tag me and stuff. DM me, share it with other people, and just leave a 5-star review if you loved it. Okay, you can do it on Apple, Google, Spotify, and there's some other listening platforms as well. So guys, have a great day, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon on the next episode. Okay, cheers guys, thank you, bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, guys. I hope what I've shared with you today has helped you and really inspired you in your young entrepreneurial journey. If this episode did help you today, feel free to tag me in your biggest takeaways, aha moments, and let me know how much you love this by leaving a 5-star review. Or even if you want to share it with like-minded young entrepreneurs who you think might benefit the podcast, feel free to do so. You're thinking, I want to get instant notifications when the new episodes drop? You can hit the subscribe button and you'll get notified when I drop them. Once again, guys, thank you so much for listening. And remember, you are one true young entrepreneur in the making. And I'll speak to you in the next episode.